Welcome to the 1905 podcast. Joe and I have been going to Stamford Bridge for over 30 years. Each week, this podcast will take you inside our unfiltered thoughts on all things Chelsea, sharing our view from Gate 13 of the Matthew Harding stand. Let's hit the notes. In this episode, we reflect on that pre-season humbling by Man City, a couple of contrasting player performances, and what we want to see against Real Madrid next up. Let's start with a voice note from Joe on that City game in Ohio.
I thought it'd be interesting to actually give some, I suppose, a few more feelings towards one of our pre-season games. I feel as though this week, Man City, for two reasons, we play them on opening day, and obviously the second reason, they are obviously proper Premier League powerhouses. So, not to say that we know where we're gonna be when we play them, win, lose or draw, but just a kind of, this is the type of thing we're going to expect next season. So where would we be in terms of kind of performance and level and things like that? My sort of, I suppose, instant reaction was, oh my word, what are we doing? To be 2-0 down against Man City in the first 5 or 6 minutes was a little bit embarrassing, if I'm honest with you, because of all the 4 goals we conceded, none of them were kind of from Man City's own doing. We shot ourselves in the foot on every single goal, and none more so than the first one. A really sloppy pass from Tosin, sloppy pass from Caicedo for the next one, sloppy pass from Sterling for the third, and a sloppy pass from Gusto for the fourth. Every single goal was of our own making. Having said all that, these are goals that, if we are going to give away, you give them away now. You don't give them away on the opening day, all being well. You don't do that. You're going to make mistakes. Obviously, it's Man City. They will pressure you into making errors and things. But last night, there wasn't actually a lot of pressure on the ball when we did give the ball away, and that's what was kind of a little bit frustrating. They are things we can iron out. They aren't actually massive headaches, in my opinion. They're just things that we need to basically sharpen up on, improve upon. Because playing out from the back the way we can, and if you go back and watch the Club America game, where in fairness they gave us a bit more time and space to do it, and they weren't used to perhaps playing against opposition like us, you can see by playing out from the back, you can cut teams open literally like a knife through butter. So it works, and once they understand it and get it right, it's going to be a thing of beauty. And I think this is the thing, it's kind of short-term pain, for some long-term payoff at the end of the day. We have to bear that in mind. I think, please don't get too upset with the result. I know it's not great. I appreciate that losing to Man City and Celtic, 4 goals in both of those games feels a little bit like, oh no, what are we doing? Where are we going? Manager doesn't know what he's doing. Players don't look up to scratch. But I do believe these are things that we can generally iron out. It's not a massive problem. I think had we been cut apart, time and time again yesterday, and all those goals were absolute worldies, I'd be like, oh, okay, do you know what? We've got some big issues here. But I think the fact that we're basically the instigators of our own downfall does, in a weird way, fill me with a bit more comfort. And hopefully when we get to Real Madrid and Inter Milan, particularly the Inter Milan game at home in England, we will see a much improved and a much more cohesive unit. I think that's the game I'm looking towards, is the Inter Milan one. If you see a complete mess and a complete, hash of garbage and mistakes and error-prone, then I'll be a bit concerned. I think for now, I really am just sort of saying, look, keep a lid on it. It's all right. We'll get through this. And I don't want to keep repeating myself and sounding boring, but they have to just be left to make those errors. And I think when you hear Reece James and Nkunku speak after the match, they both said the same thing. We are just happy to be playing. We're happy that we realise we're not fully fit. And They basically said, we're not going at full tilt. They have said that from their own mouths. So I think we need to be aware of that and don't jump on people if they don't score, or jump on people if they're not quite running as hard as you think they should. Once the Premier League is up and running, you'll see a different animal. But for the time being, I think it's very important to hear those quotes from them, because they're the best indicator. I could say it and you can say it and anybody else could say anything they want about the way we're playing and are they trying hard enough and things like that. But you can hear it. They're not trying to get injured before the season starts. It's as simple as that. They've been a long time out and they don't want to be another 3 months on the injury table. So that's important to remember. But lastly, I would like just to mention Noni, because I think he is a bit of an enigma. I think people love him and some really dislike him. I think people find him annoying because he keeps wanting to take the penalties off of people. I don't love that. I didn't love it last season when they did it against Everton. I thought it was really, really poor. He's not the first person in a Chelsea shirt to do that, so I think we need to give him a little bit of slack there. He wants to score. He wants to be naming the lights. You know, I don't mind that. I think his performance yesterday when he came on was excellent. He obviously created a wonderful goal for Sterling, who took that really, really well. And his goal late on was a thing of beauty. The way he takes he's a full-back on and obviously slots it in the corner really comfortably. He looks, I would say, along with Nkunku, our best attacking player at the moment. They're the two for me that have stood out in pre-season going forward. He's kind of playing himself into the first team, I think. I don't think you can really not play him at the moment. Maybe when Palmer comes back, there'll be a conversation. Will they move things around? I don't really know at this stage because we haven't seen Palmer yet. But I think he deserves credit where it's due. He's really putting in a shift. He's being dangerous. He's being creative. And I think we need to give him a bit of credit for that. So fair play to him. I say disappointed with the result. I still think keep feet on the ground. Long pre-season to go still. So 2 more big games. And obviously the opener against Man City on that following Sunday. So I'm optimistic still. I'm not too worried about this result, and fingers crossed we can see a marked improvement against Real Madrid.
I think from my side, I'd like to focus in on a couple of the player performances against City and actually what we've seen from them in pre-season so far, really. So I'll start with the more negative one, which unfortunately is Mikhailo Mudryk. I've said about him before, I was so excited when we got him on the kind of nicked him from Arsenal. Seen him a little bit for Shakhtar and he looked brilliant, and he kind of is such an exciting sort of player on paper, isn't he? Because he's got ridiculous pace, he's really direct, he's actually got a good shot on him, it can be really good. We haven't seen really any of it at Chelsea, and on paper he just looked like a brilliant signing. But I think what we've seen in pre-season, unfortunately, has been a continuation of what we've now seen from a year and a half at Chelsea, which is he just makes bad decision after bad decision, and I'm just not sure when that is likely to change in a Chelsea shirt at this point. There's 2 things that get me with him, I think. Is number one actually is his on-the-ball decision-making. So he doesn't often take people on, and when he does, he'll often get muscled out the ball. I always feel like he always wants to cut inside. So if he's obviously playing off the left, he's looking to do that constantly rather than really use that pace and get outside of people. So it becomes a little bit predictable, and you see defenders just nick the ball off him constantly when he's trying it. And the second part is his decision-making off the ball, and really there it's about his runs. The amount of times a player like him I want to see running in behind, giving an option where he could be on the end of these through balls, like Madueke was, again, for that goal at the end of the game. But I feel like he never makes that run. I was really hopeful when he did it against Nottingham Forest at the end of last season. Great ball by Palmer, runs in behind, uses his pace, cuts in, great goal. But we've not seen it. And I'd want him against City, play quite a high line, looking to kind of stretch that back four constantly, but he just never seems to want to make that run. And you can actually see it. I noticed it actually in the City game a number of times that sort of Fernandes or Levy or people like that would pick up the ball looking for him, and he's not made the run at all, or he's made it at the wrong time, too late, too early. that kind of stuff. And I think 18 months in, that's the sort of thing would have expected to have seen it really improve. And you talked about Madueke by comparison. Like, Madueke came on at half-time and he did so much. You know, even one of Madueke's highlights is more than Madrid did in the whole game, where there is a couple of good crosses that Madueke put in, obviously one of which led to Sterling's goal. Great goal himself, had a good shot blocked. We didn't see any of that from Madrid at all in the whole of his time on the pitch. And to be honest, I've said it for a while, I think he needs a loan. I would not be surprised to see it could be quite a late loan in the market come the end of August, that Chelsea decide to kind of see what kind of market there is for him to go and loan somewhere. I think he needs to rebuild confidence, find out kind of what player he really is, get some proper games under his belt, because he hadn't played that much first team football when he joined Chelsea. It was a bit of a warning sign in itself. And I think that's what he needs for us to think if he's really got a future at Chelsea. And actually, if he doesn't, then I think a loan would be sensible anyway, because if he has a good loan somewhere and we decide to cash in, his value will be much higher than it is now, because at the moment I don't think you'd get more than 25 million for him, would you, if you're being honest? So let's see what happens there. They might decide that with the Conference League that he's worth keeping around, because there's going to be a lot of games there to play. But look at, like, a couple of players who've had cameos, like Gabriel and Tyreek George, when they've been on the pitch, have done more than him in pre-season. So if you are looking at the Conference League, I'd almost be more inclined to keep those guys along, see what they can do, and maybe let Madrid go out on loan and rediscover who he is, basically. And then the other side of the coin, let's be more positive, is Lavia. So I thought he was excellent at times against City in that midfield. He's looked really good on the ball for me every game he's played in pre-season. His passing, when you watch it, there's a great clip actually I saw on Twitter. We'll put it up on our Instagram, which just shows so our Instagram is 1905 podcast, by the way, if you're not currently a follower. But we'll put a video up on there of all of his touches against City. But what you really notice immediately is the speed that he passes at, both decision-making and the way he really zips those passes into people, is really, really good. You know, real top quality. And the other thing is how progressive he is. So obviously the best example being the ridiculously great pass he played for Madueke's goal at the end of the game. But he's kind of constantly doing that, looking to play quickly and play forward where he can. And I thought he, again, is really impressive. He's also physically imposing, a bit of a kind of turn back to Chelsea players of old. There's a little bit of Mikel about him, isn't there, actually, in the way he looks when he's so strong on the ball. And that's something I think you and I have talked about, Joe, about kind of wanting to see that physical, difficult to play against Chelsea. And really hope he can stay fit, because I think he is going to actually give Maresca a little bit of a good problem, I think, in terms of that midfield balance, because it didn't really look great, did it, with the three of them yesterday? It was only 45 minutes with Enzo, Caicedo and him. You kind of struggle to see in that system how that probably works on a consistent basis. So it might be that it's 2 of 3, and bear in mind that 2 of those cost 100 million. That is going to give him quite a lot of big decisions to make, I think. But that said, we'll play about 70 odd games this season, won't we, with the World Club Cup as well? So, you know, there's plenty of games to go around. But yeah, I think he's been a real positive, and I think at the moment, similar to you said about Madueke, I think at the moment he's well in line to be in that starting lineup for that first proper game against City. So yeah, let's talk about Madrid.
So I suppose some of the things I'd like to see improved upon for Real Madrid next is definitely our intensity at the back. I think, again, from midfield onwards, I think we're working pretty hard. I think there's a lot of skill, there's a lot of great through balls, there's lots of excellent runs and dribbles. I'm quite happy with where they are and the way they're developing. I think where we are lacking definitely is at the back at the moment, which is a bit of a concern. I mean, we have conceded 4 goals in 2 matches in 4 games, which is not incredible. But again, there are reasons for that, which we've already explained. But I think by Real Madrid, we need to start seeing some of those mistakes cut out now. Madrid are obviously a fantastic team, but they've not had a great pre-season either. But we do need to start seeing an improvement on the ball, off the ball, and just sounds really silly, but recovery runs. I've noticed a few times where we've given the ball away players have just walked back, and I don't want to repeat myself, but they're not trying to like kill themselves to kind of pull a hamstring or something silly, but there does have to be a match sharpness about them now, because you're not too far removed from playing Man City in the league. So I think recovery runs, intensity at the back, with the general desire to actually not concede goals. Be proud not to concede. Don't just be giving away cheap goals like it's okay, because it's actually not. And the last thing I'd like to see is a better pitch. Are we going to get a better pitch? I don't know. But today was very dry and dusty, wasn't it? The ball didn't flow very well. But I think overall, actually, when I've watched the game back a bit later, I sort of had half forgotten how many chances were created, and it was a lot, actually. We could have had a few goals quite handsomely. So didn't do too badly overall, particularly up front. But yeah, positive signs there today. And I think Pep was right when he said that these goals probably wouldn't be conceded at Stamford Bridge because the pitch would be better. And he's probably right on that front. But it's not an excuse. They should still be doing better on that. But I think a marked defensive display in an upturn way would be fantastic.
I hadn't seen that actually from Guardiola about the pitch, but you definitely could see it watching it. Some of the passes were just really sticky, and it's always an issue in the US, isn't it? We had it last year, obviously ending up with Nkunku's injury at the end, which is the main thing you want to come away from the tour of not having injury picked up. So maybe that's the first thing to say about the Madrid game from my side, is let's hope we come away with no more injuries. I think big one for me is in goal. So really hope that Jorgensen gets the 90 minutes. I think he probably will. I'm imagining that was kind of the plan at this point, that they got with 45 minutes each against Club America. Sanchez obviously got the 90 against City, and you'd think that Jorgensen would get the 90. So it'd be good to get a proper look at him and see what he's all about, particularly on the ball, where we've heard quite a bit about how important that role is under Maresca, and the goalkeeper pushing up and becoming almost an extra defender when we've got the ball at times. So that'll be something to look out for. And yeah, just like always, you want to see the new players play. I'd quite like to see a different option at left back. Obviously, we haven't got Cucurella at the moment. He's really not playing Chilwell there, is he? I think Chilwell will be another one that I would expect to see leave before the transfer window, unfortunately. I think it'll probably be a loan, almost for similar reasons as Mudryk, really. I don't think you'd get his market value at this point in time with his injuries, but I think a good loan and his value then shoots back up to kind of a proper level again. And he's a really good player, I think. I know he divides some Chelsea fans, but played in the right system as an attacking fullback or wing-back, I think he gives you a lot. But he's not going to be playing, so it'd be nice to see a different option on the left again. Quite nice to see Vega get a game, wouldn't it? We've not seen a huge amount of him. When he has sort of had little spells, I've quite liked the look of him. He's big, strong, and obviously naturally left-footed as well. So it'd be nice to have a proper look at him. And the other one, actually, you talked about him in the last pod, is Dewsbury Hall. I feel like it was a bit of a waste, really, putting him out. He was practically playing on the wing, wasn't he, against Man City? So it'd be nice to see him back in that more of an attacking midfield role. Likewise in Nkunku, I think both of those two guys looked so much more comfortable in deeper roles than they were playing. So I think Nkunku as a 9 could be effective there, but you want him on the ball as much as possible because he's so good in deeper areas as well. So maybe looking at a different option. I wonder how close Jackson is to actually being able to play. It'd be great to get some minutes from him. I think actually see what he brings to the table when he's not there, like often with players. And then finally, I know we don't care too much about results, and in pre-season they ultimately don't matter, but you see a lot of it on social media. I've seen people already from other clubs and seeing your pre-season results going around as a graphic and all that kind of stuff, and ultimately most of the players and the manager won't be looking at that sort of thing, but I don't think it helps to build a narrative like that around the club before you start the season. So with 2 games left, again, both not easy on paper with Real Madrid and Inter, but definitely want to be picking a win up in one of them. And ideally, if you can try and avoid defeat, I just think it helps going into start the season, not off the back of what looks like a disaster of a pre-season. So, Yeah, I don't think it matters, but I think it also will help just take that kind of momentum away from the story, because we've talked about it a little bit. He does need a good start to the season. Pre-season doesn't matter, but when the season itself starts, he needs to have a much better start than we saw under Pochettino last year, because Pochettino had that track record behind him that kind of ensured he was always going to get given a bit more time and patience, and Maresca doesn't have that. So if he was to have the same kind of start to the season and we're stuck around mid-table come November, I think he'll be under big pressure, which I think all of us just don't want. You know, it would just be great to have a strong start to the season, be around that top 4 area, and actually be able to just enjoy a season, like, for once, without having just constant talk about the manager leaving and stuff like that. So, yeah, again, don't think pre-season massively matters for that, but if you can pick up a win or two before that City game and then have a bit of momentum going into the season, I think that could really help. Our question this week comes in from Instagram as well, so thank you very much to David Kerr for the question. And the question is, what is your favourite ever Chelsea pre-season goal? So I'm going to take this one this week, and there's a couple that came to mind. One was Didier Drogba, I think it was against AC Milan in about 2005. Absolute blast of a 30-yarder in the top corner. It was pretty special. But the one I'm going to go with is Eden Hazard. Oh, how I missed that guy. But it was in 2015 against Barcelona. He picked the ball up. I think it was Kurt Zouma. He passed him the ball just inside the Chelsea half and went on one of those classic slalom Hazard runs past 3-4 players and then calmly finished it in the corner. It was just a brilliant goal. We'll put it up on the Instagram, 1905 podcast, so you can see it. It's a great goal. And yeah, that one immediately came to mind because I think that pre-season wasn't great. Actually, we talked about it before, about bad pre-seasons, and it was it was the precursor to the 2016 season when, of course, Mourinho would end up getting sacked by December. And Hazard, ironically, had his worst ever Chelsea season. But in terms of a goal in pre-season, it was pretty special. We just wanted to end this week's episode with a thank you, actually, for all of the amazing 5-star reviews that we've been getting on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Honestly, they mean so much to us, so thank you so much. And all of the amazing comments that have come in as well. It really, it's amazing for us to read. We get incredibly excited when we see it. We screenshot the messages to each other and like send them on WhatsApp and stuff. So honestly, thank you. You can get in touch with us on Instagram as well, 1905 podcast. Quite a few people have done that. And again, if you've got questions you want us to answer in our little question at the end of the episode, then fire them through and just let us know what you think of the podcast. It makes us so happy, honestly, seeing that you guys are out there enjoying what we're putting out. It's a new venture for both of us to do a podcast, Joe and I. It's something we've wanted to do for many years, and we're only a couple of months in, but it's great to see that you're enjoying it. And you'll have noticed this is 2 episodes this week, so this is going to be the trend going forward into the season, where we drop an episode at the start of the week and at the end of the week, and we've got loads of things planned within that to do guest notes from opposition fans to help preview games and get a feel for what other fans think of Chelsea right now and what we can expect from the games ahead, and even doing some stuff from live at games and things like that. So we can't wait for the start of the season, when hopefully it's going to be a really positive one ahead. But again, just wanted to finish to say thank you for everything. Please keep those reviews coming, of the 5-star nature, if you can. That's really appreciated. And all the comments on Instagram as well. But yeah, we will see you next time. Those were the Chelsea notes for this week. If you enjoyed the podcast, do us a favour and share it with a fellow Blue. And we'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave us a review wherever you're listening. Wherever you may be, stay carefree, and remember, every little thing's gonna be alright.